Welcome back, FE12 Lunatic-Reverse 0% Growth, Chapter 20. Katarina is done Nosferatu tanking for a little while and going Spell Sword instead. We reclass Militia to Bishop for the increased resistance against Swarm Tome Bishops, but Cord can survive them as a Sorcerer. I just forgot to switch him until the end. Abel and the Avatar are here to soak Swarm Tomes with their low luck, and the rest of this is pretty standard. We'll need the Barrier, Rescue, and Thief Stabs, and we're also emptying a lot of inventory here because it's time for the most important and most expensive Forge of the run. Pretty much everything that isn't tied down needs to go, to put enough might and crit onto a Levin Sword for killing Harden and Medius, and also to buy a Talisman for Feena and an Arm Scroll for Katarina. Feena also uses the Talisman we got in Chapter 14 and grabs a full stack of Pure Waters. This is going to allow her to survive against the enemy Swarm Tomes. Katarina uses the new Arm Scroll and the one from Chapter 18, as well as the Spirit Dust from the boss of Chapter 19 and the Dracoshield that Wolf was carrying. In Hard 3, I forged 9 might onto the Levin Sword, but that was because Katarina was stuck at B-rank swords. With the extra arm scrolls from the armory, this route allowed her to hit A-rank swords for that extra point of might, and thus we can get a cheaper forge with +8. The rest of the inventory stuff is pretty straightforward. Gold is extremely tight in this run, so I can't forge quite as much crit on this sword as I'd like, but I need significantly fewer crits with it compared to Hard 3, so we'll be fine. I named this forge Nino because it's green. I'm running out of ideas. And like I said, Cord can go as Sorcerer, because he's pretty bulky compared to like Yumina or Militia, who would both need to be bishops here. And this also means he can keep working on his staff rank. Right away, we'll dance extend Katarina to kill a Thief with 5 Master Keys, which open both chests and doors, so we definitely want that. The Thief has 28 speed, and the Star Sphere allows you to exceed stat caps, so Katarina can double him. But the Thief has a 50% chance to roll 29 speed, so we'll use the Forged Levin Sword just to one-shot him no matter which way the RNG goes. The Avatar is mostly here to soak Swarm Tomes with her abysmal luck of 3, so we put up that barrier buff real quick. We're going to fight Harden on turn 6, and Zane would lose his transformation that turn if he transformed now, so we'll wait to do that until turn 2. Midia is a new unit who will get attacked by enemies before we can kill Harden, so we'll just have to rescue her out. She's going to go ahead and grab the keys from the convoy and switches the order of them real quick, just so I can show you something later. Keep that in mind. Most of the remaining staff usage in this chapter will be done with Physic, however we do need to keep everyone moving, because there is going to be a horde of Paladin reinforcements here at the starting point later. The Life Sphere is OP, and we get Zane set up to go fight with Katarina. This chapter is dramatically easier than on Vanilla Hard 3, and you're about to see why. Because of the 3 early Spirit Dusts we bought in the Armory, Katarina and Zane can now 2-hit KO every basic enemy on the map, except the generals, with a base Levin Sword. No crits needed, no overusing the Forged Levin Sword. It's pretty ridiculous. Now the Avatar is going to move into Swarm range, and I checked real quick that the 2 relevant Swarm Bishops have 18 magic instead of the 10% chance they have to get 19 magic, which would allow them to kill Feena. Marth is able to avoid dying to the Swarm Tomes without a Pure Water or Barrier thanks to that Angelic Robe from Chapter 12, so that kind of just keeps paying dividends. This hero on enemy phase can't reach the upper Swordmaster, so we had to make sure the sniper would go for the upper Swordmaster by putting the Star Sphere on the lower one for more defense. Life Sphere OP, Cord Gaming. On the last 2 rounds of combat, Zane got those pursuit criticals, so I want to mention that the Levin Sword uses are very precisely routed in this run, and I don't want to save any uses from unrouted crits. But I got very lucky on that front, and we actually won't have any unrouted crits in this chapter. And recall that Feena used 2 Talismans in preparations, and now is using a Pure Water, as she needs the full +7 buff to have 27 effective health against the Swarm Tomes, and thus she can only survive if they roll 18 magic for 26 total attack. There's a lot of empty movement in this chapter while Katarina and Zane mow down the opposition on the front line, but like I said, we have to get away from where those reinforcements will spawn. Everybody's healed up, so we easily soak the Swarm Tomes. This enemy longbow sniper in the treasure room is already activated by Marth and Zane, but he's blocked off from actually hitting them by the enemy stage in general. Get fucked, idiot. I assumed the game would be smart enough to prioritize the door key on a door, but it's not. It uses whatever's highest in your inventory, in this case it's the Master Key, and you can't use keys from the item menu, so that could really suck if you're not ready for it. Katarina needs the forged Levin Sword to take down this general, but that's fine. Now this Sage is a little scary. He's got relatively high crit with the Thoron Tome, but Pala gets the Star Sphere and she can double him. In my previous run, I ranted quite a bit here about how I could save a rescue use with a resistance bond on Feena, but that was completely wrong. The resistance bond does not stack with Pure Water or Barrier, and since there's only one Talisman in the game up to that point in Vanilla, there's absolutely zero chance of getting Feena into this treasure room without the rescue that I used in that run. And that's actually what got me looking at alternatives to Yumina for this run, since her resistance bond is actually completely worthless. Shoutouts to Cord. As it is, though, Feena is able to get in here, and she needs to move her max distance every turn. And of course, chug another Pure Water, because she has to have that +7. This next sniper, on the other side of this wall, has a longbow, but Marth is once again safe, in this case to loot a treasure chest, because that enemy sorcerer is blocking the tile where the longbow sniper would reach him. Get fucked again. The rest of this is just making sure our sword masters are close enough to reach Harden next turn, and getting the proper equipment onto Zane. I was able to barrier Feena this turn instead of a Pure Water, but it doesn't really matter. One turn after the first wave of paladins show up, Harden gets mad, and that causes more paladins to show up, and a whole bunch of nasty reinforcements apparently just teleport into this southeastern room. And this is when the enemies would finally decide to slaughter Midia if she were still there. It's the final turn, and Midia loots the necessary again staff for us from the chest, but now how do we open the door? Well, because we were able to get Feena in here, we can dance Midia off that tile. You could also use the Thief Staff on that chest, like I did in Hard 3, or use the Unlock Staff from Chapter 10 to unlock the door at 2 range. But you'd have to use the Thief Staff to get the Unlock Staff unless you're playing really slow, so that's basically the same thing. The only reason I'm able to do this now is because I bought that extra Talisman for Feena from the armory, and, critically, I don't need Feena's help to kill Harden. The most insane result of buying 3 Spirit Dusts from the armory is that we can now kill Harden with only 2 crits instead of 3. Although that's also thanks to the Star Sphere being able to exceed stat caps. But note that the bond items do not work that way. So like the max speed of 25 on a Sage couldn't then use a speed bond to avoid being doubled by Medius, for example. Which is a tragedy, honestly. That would be a really cool route to work on. Note that Pala wouldn't have doubled that sniper even with the Star Sphere, so he did just have to take the Master Sword crit. Also, Abel's positioning across the wall allowed him to hit Pala, Zane, and Katarina with a Geosphere to help with the crits. Harden is gone, and we get the Gradivis, which you'll see to its full extent in Chapter 21. As well as the Dark Sphere, which is the biggest blue ball in Fire Emblem history when you read the description of negating all incoming damage, since we immediately lose it, along with our other spheres, to form the Binding Shield, which is locked to Marth's inventory, and simply gives him +2 to all stats except HP. Indescribable downgrade. It should at least keep the Life Sphere effect for Marth. Something. And you didn't forget about the Thief Staff, did you? We getting that Braybo, motherfucker? That's why it was so important to get the Again Staff the hard way, instead of using the Thief Staff. We need this Brave Bow. It's going to do amazing things in Chapter 21. I honestly can't wait to show you. But first we have to do 20x, so I'll see you there, and thanks for watching.